Good morning, everybody. Thought I'd give an update on the baby chicks. It's actually been a while. The last video I uploaded was from about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, so they've grown and I'll show you what they look like now. Hello, Mama. So you can see they've gotten lots of their main feathers on their wings. Yes, Mama, right there. Oops. So the two black ones I was thinking were like, hold on, let me get this. I have it resting on my head right now. Ah! All right. So these two little black ones I had thought were going to be like these ladies here, but the white on their chest was puzzling to me. And then I realized they were getting some feathers on them. I have another black chicken that they could be, and that is, I think she's a barred rock. And if you look, especially on this little one right here, on her tail, I'm hoping it's a her, she's getting kind of those white bars. So I'm hoping, or I'm thinking anyway, that, oh Mama, stop hiding your babies. I'm thinking that maybe this one especially might be the barred rock. And since the other black one was born a day or two later than the other black one, so I think that maybe that one might start developing some white bars too. We shall see. But this one right here, let me see if is looking somewhat like this lady right here. And I'm not exactly sure what kind she is. I still have to look it up. I had thought maybe Americana. I'm just not sure because my lavender Americana right here looks different than her. So yeah, but I think that baby chick is like this chicken here. And of course this one right there is going to be a buff Orpington, like her. That's the only bird she could be like. So anyway, here's the baby chicks. And I need to get them some water. So there's an update for you. So Thanksgiving is this week and I'm gonna start getting some things ready and pre-made. One of them being some pumpkin rolls that my family likes and also some pumpkin pie. So I'm gonna get one of the squash from my root cellar. I have this little building here just outside our house and it's a root cellar. So it's not a typical root cellar in that it's down completely underground, but it does go down about a foot deep, and then it's highly insulated and lots of foam board all the way around. I'm gonna close it because it's cold outside. It's about 39 degrees outside here, and in here it's been about 42, and just keeps it a nice cool temperature. Even in the summertime it gets cool. So anyway, down here I have a whole bunch of squash that I harvested, and I actually already have some frozen squash pulp, pumpkin pulp too, in my freezer, but I wanted to use these up because I noticed this one especially is starting to get a little moldy in spots, so I wanted to use this up so that it doesn't go to waste. But anyway, this is where I have a bunch of my squash. I'm also keeping my canned goods out here. Grape juice, blackberry lemonade concentrate, dilly beans, pickles, applesauce, and onions that are growing. I also have some potatoes and tomatoes, but they're in the garage right now. I need to sort through them. But anyway, I have ketchup and pizza sauce, just regular plain old tomato paste. Yep, tomato paste. And then this is salsa and a few, these aren't recent, these are just diced tomatoes, and then a tomato sauce. So I've gotten a lot of our tomato needs met for this year. I could definitely use some more diced tomatoes, but I just couldn't get it done this year. I had the tomatoes for it, I just didn't have the time for it. These are grape juice from our grapevines that are out there. So yeah, my little stash for this year. Next year it'll be a lot better. I'm excited to have this place to store food for the rest of the year. So anyway, let's take the squash and get it into the oven and baking so that I can make. Now I might open this up and find out that it's not going to be any good. In fact, I often bake my squash whole, but I might cut this open and actually see if it's actually okay first before I bake it, so I don't spend all that time. Don't waste all that time. So let's take that inside and get to work on it. So I have my squash that I brought in from my root cellar, and as you can see, it's got some mold growing there, and then it's got all these little pock marks. We're just gonna see, open it up and see what it looks like inside. If we can still use it, I'm gonna give it a good washing first. Even on the bottom there, it's got some soft spots. So we'll just give this a go. So it's looking okay. I mean, you can see here some spots that we can cut out. The seeds on this side are looking a little brown and moldy, and for the most part it looks salvageable though. There's a lot of good flesh on here. So I think we're going to go ahead and roast this one up and cook it into some rolls. First I'm going to scrape out all these seeds and strings. These will go out to feed the chickens, and they'll really like those. Nice little treat for them. I'm going to trim these bad spots out. not sure what to make of those, but I think once it's cooked up I can avoid those pretty easily. Because I just cut some off and there's still some there. So, I'm going to cut a little bit more off and see what it does. I don't even know what type of squash this is. The people who we bought the property from were the ones that planted this. So I did cook one of these up before and I really like the flavor of it. I made some pumpkin scones out of it. The flesh is a lot drier with a lot less moisture in it than pumpkins that I usually cook up, which is really nice for baking things like pumpkin scones because there's not as much moisture in them. Alright, some more of those spots from this side. Just trim that off again. And just all over. But I'll still cook it up. There's still a lot of usable flesh. I'll just have to avoid probably near the skin when I'm digging it out. Alright, now that I've got it cleaned out, I just put it in a roasting pan or on a cookie sheet with sides. And then when I first learned to do this, I read to put some oil, a little bit of oil on the skin. Not sure what it does other than maybe keep it a little more moist when it's in the oven. So we just rub it down with some oil. Like so. Then we're going to turn the oven to about 350 to 400. And then we'll leave it in the oven for about 45 minutes to an hour before we check it and see if it's done. So I'm going to go ahead and put the squash in the oven even though it's not heated all the way up to what I want it to. It's not going to hurt it to be in there while the oven is heating up, so I'll just go ahead and stick it in. That way I don't have to wait there for that to happen. And now we wait. Hey, Chick Chick. Hey, got a treat. Come here. right, so I have tested these. They're nice and soft and ready to be taken out of the oven. I'm going to let them cool down a little bit before I start taking the pulp off of them because they are steaming hot right now and too hot to touch. So we'll come back to this in a little bit and take the pulp out. This is still rather hot, but it's cooled off now, so I'm going to turn these over and start taking the pulp out. I just use a regular serving spoon and it just comes out soft and easy, and I put it into a bowl. When you do the roasting of the pumpkins, you want to make sure to have a pan with sides because it actually has some juices that it emits as it's cooking. So you don't want that all over your oven. So make sure you put it in a roasting pan of some kind or a cookie sheet that has even just the little sides on it. You want to make sure not to get the pumpkin skin in there. It doesn't make it pleasant for eating later if you have a piece of that in your pumpkin pie or something else. Now this squash, the skin isn't actually as tough as on the pumpkins. So it's a little bit harder to not get some on there. You can see here some of those kind of bad spots that, ew, come on, focus. Anyway, you can kind of see there the bad spots that were in the side of the pumpkin that I was going to try to avoid. So just put that back in there. Well, I won't bore you with taking all of this out, but so I'll stop here and I'll show you what the next step is in getting the puree ready for using in your cooking. So the next step that I take in preparing the pulp is getting a stick blender, immersion blender, whatever you want to call it, and you just stick it down in there and start blending away. So, as you can see, it is now a nice consistency for making pumpkin pie or adding into recipes like I'm going to do for pumpkin rolls and for my pumpkin scones that I made. Oh, there's a bit that I missed. So there you have it. Next up, pumpkin rolls.